Traditionally, it's not a big or maybe racist just because I'm mutant, they don't want my help. It seems it doesn't really matter if the superpower's firing to the melt.
Hello, welcome to And Now Comics. We are in the other channel because Craig's being a shit. I'm joined by the two Johns, John Scott and John Seiler.
I'm John Seiler.
Yes, John Scott did not respond when I said his name. There he is.
No, because literally the sound crapped out. That's why.
Ah, okay. Yeah, there's a big storm on the East Coast that's screwing with the internet. So hopefully we can get through this. We're going to talk about a couple news items before we talk about New Mutants. The comic. We will get to the movie next week, hopefully.
Hopefully is the key word here because my internet's being a fuck.
So why don't we talk about these two things you posted in here, Seiler? And then I do kind of want to talk a little bit about the next-gen launches after. So
The next-gen launches?
the systems, Xbox and PlayStation.
Got it.
More specifically, Spider-Man, because that's the big comic book game out right now.
Yeah, so I read part of this first DC one that you posted on here, which they're both DC stories, because there really wasn't a ton of news. So DC's firing more people, and they're cutting back their print line. Is that what I'm reading correctly?
So there were some firings behind the scenes this week. They're a lot bigger than like you would think. Like there are people that have been like with the company for like 45 years. And essentially like the big rumor is, and this is like strictly a rumor, is that DC is going to slowly back away from the direct market and focus on digital comics, with trades being collected later or into like thicker anthologies for like general audiences, and that the basically like the line will have like more of a focus on like a mass media thing. So it's like you know, you'll have like your Batmans, your Supermans, your Flashes, your Suicide Squads. Basically, it's like if they got a thing to do with the films or like any kind of mass media, then there'll be a comic for it. Which I mean is like basically how like I feel like DC is running anyways. It's like the comics are basically just a wing to get people interested into the movies, or vice versa.
Well, that's kind of what Marvel's been kind of doing it in a more like testing stories there to see how they would be received, aside from what's going on with the X-Men, and maybe being a little bit better with like letting creators lead some stuff. And DC was kind of doing some of that well, but mostly with people connected to the Batman stuff, and plus Bendis. So I don't know. I'm looking at these firings, man. There's some like decent names in here that were like canned. Like it's like when we talked about, it's like one of the new co-editors in chief was one of the ones that got fired.
Yeah. I think there's like a again there's a big reshuffling of DC, and I think we'll kind of like start seeing like basically like this new DC and what it looks like in about like probably like May.
Jeff Johns' power is slowly draining. I'm kidding, but
I mean, yeah, I think Black Label really kind of was like their toe in the water and kind of figuring out, can like we start doing like not only just like prestige stuff, but like more anthology like in like a way of like smaller series that compile within like a couple issues and then put them into trades later. And I think like the days of having like a Batman every month, like I don't know, man. Like it's like kind of funny. Like I actually haven't looked at solicitations for DC in a couple months now, and the DC books I'm still buying are just the DC books that were already like on my pull list because it's not in Diamond, and I don't really ever kind of think to look at DC's website for like what their solicitations for like whatever month are, because I kind of just don't I either like forget or I just like kind of don't know where to look for it. So I think that like that's also like another thing. It's like if you're gonna like try and back away from the direct market and try and basically do like this big huge push for digital single issues and trades, which I think is like smart. Like I think having like a heavy trade market is like what has made like independent companies like so big, and grow over the last decade and a half. And I really kind of wish Marvel and DC would like really kind of get on the ball with that shit. And like it looks like DC might be. And
Marvel won't, because doesn't Ike still kind of control the comics?
what do you mean?
Like Ike Perlmutter, isn't he still a big part of those comics? Like the comic side of business, or not anymore?
I don't know, man. I thought
I just blame
I thought there was like some stuff like maybe about a year ago that like they were kind of like moving away. Like but like I don't know, man. I haven't like looked up at like what's going on with Marvel in a while now. But it's like
I feel
really
like for me, every problem
But, like-
I have with Marvel is all Ike's fault. But that's just me.
But I mean, it's like you look at like DC, they're already doing like that really cool kids line. They're doing like these original graphic novel kind of books. It's like those are successful, and like the lady who's like in charge of DC now is like the one who's kind of spearheading all that stuff. So I assume like a lot of like the initiatives of like what her idea of like what DC needs to do as a publisher going forward is going to try and like capture the same magic as like those kids books, but with like the older book.
Like you could easily do a Miles Morales or Spider-Man young adult graphic novel, kind of similar.
They
I mean,
just did. I'm trying. Somebody. Oh, they did like a Mr. Freeze one that came out like really recently, and I was like, wait, what? I was
I'm talking about
confused.
for Marvel though.
Yeah. I'm just saying like they're those young adult ones, like kid ones, like they're in DC side. They're like doing a lot of interesting people, like characters. It's like a romance book with Nora and Victor.
Yeah, I have that one saved on my Hoopla.
I'm sorry, did someone ask for me?
No, well, we were just talking.
I before the show started, like I have all the lights in my house off, and I ran into a door, and I I was like I felt my face. I'm like, am I bleeding? And I was like, yeah, a little bit.
Oh man.
Oh.
Hope you're all right. You can take a minute to go check yourself out.
I mean, it wasn't bad enough. It was just like one of those like, huh.
Listen, this is how dedicated we are to you podcasting for you, ladies and gentlemen. Siler will go through this bleeding if he has to.
Yeah, he has CT now. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Like I was a monthly buyer, like single issue, and I started to move towards like buying at like more absolutes and omnis, and not even like I kind of didn't do trades, although I do get the point of trades.
Yeah,
And,
I can't do single issues. It's too much for me to track down, and it takes up a lot of space. That's why I'm waiting for I'm happy for the digital stuff on Hoopla, but that's like I'm waiting for the Ninja Turtles Last Ronin, and I'm waiting for that trade to come out so I can just read it.
I read the first issue of it.
I heard it's good.
It's rad. It is the turtle I thought it was, which I think is the right choice.
If it's the turtle I think it is, then yeah, I'm probably gonna enjoy it.
But how many times have I said that like DC has like a comic or a line or a thing that should be like really big and a lot bigger than kind of like what it is, and it just like they just don't kind of like know how to market it. Like it's kind of like Mark Russell books sell because Mark Russell is like such a personality, and it's like you could just like easily kind of like sell those books, like Snagglepuss or Prez or Flintstones. But it's like they have that whole entire Wonder Comics line that like really kind of just should have like been like a huge thing for like their for like a teenage and younger demographic, and they just like barely ever promoted it. Same with like Young Animal. It's like they put out that record store day record like the year that Young Animal came out, and then they just did not do anything ever since.
I legitimately didn't understand what Young Animal was when it was out, and by the time I was like, oh, this is what it is, it was pretty much gone.
Yeah.
And the Wonder Comics are really good, and that's Bendis, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think also at the end of the day, like there's also just like we're too many imprints. There's DC Inc., DC Johnny, DC Black Label.
Well, that was one of the things we talked about a while ago that they were changing.
Yeah, and
they were just going to go to the 3.
And I wish like Young Animal. Yeah, it's like if Young Animal was just like Young Animal was like such a cool idea, and like really like kind of harken back to like where I think like a lot. It's like I don't think DC for like the longest time like ever thought like those Morrison books are special. Like, look how many times like Jeff Johns like tried to remake Doom Patrol into being superhero comics. It just never took off. Or like, and and then Gerard Way comes along and reinvents like Doom Patrol in kind of like no real way, because like he just does Morrison Doom Patrol and it's great, and that's what those books kind of should be.
Yeah, and that's why that show works so goddamn well.
Yeah.
Because it's that run. It's those characters doing
And,
that stuff.
And that Doom Patrol book could easily exist within the current DCU. Same with Shade, same with Far Sector, same with like all those books. And same with Wonder Comics. Like, there's no reason why Young Justice should not be in the same playground as like Young Justice should be the book that Teen Titans is. But Teen Titans is like a book that's written by like a
50-year-old white guy
who doesn't write teenage books.
Well, what's weird is they are in the same continuity. That's the only places where those characters live besides like Tim Drake and maybe Spoiler. I'm trying to even think who else.
Hey,
in most of those Wonder Comics, they don't. It's
no.
only those two that cross over.
Mm-hmm. Like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman shows up in Milk Wars, but like that's kind of about it.
Yeah, they showed.
Wow, you mean the big three showing up in a DC comic? I am shocked.
Yeah, they showed up in a recent Young Justice, but it was more about it was more like they were doing stuff with Wally and Connor. I think I talked about a little bit last week, like that was referencing the stuff that was going on with like Doomsday, like not Doomsday Clock, but like their continuity being changed and Bart understanding it. I think I said Bart before or Wally. I don't remember. They had Bart talking about it. And it is interesting, but like, yeah, they're so disconnected. It is really strange. But there's also the same like parent company that like, because they changed one actor in a TV show, that they made another show with a different actor in another universe on the same network.
Haha, we got away with it.
Yeah. So, because like Doom Patrol shows up in Titans, and it's not the same universe as Doom Patrol because they changed who plays the chief.
Yeah, it's literally it.
And why? For reasons like I don't know. I feel like
because they're like, we got Timothy Dalton, so what do we do with Titans?
Just change it. Like fucking Marvel's had two different people play War Machine, and like two different actors switch places multiple times to play. What the fuck is his name in the Thor movies? I know he's only in there for like short periods of time. Fandral is played by two different people. Because in one movie I can't remember his name, but he was in Once Upon a Time.
Yeah,
then another movie, it's Zach Levi, and then it goes back to the other guy.
No, in the third movie, it's Zach Levi.
Okay, maybe it's Zach Levi in the first one, and the guy from Once Upon a Time in the second one.
It's the Once Upon a Time guy in the first one, and Zach Levi in 2 and 3. You just don't recognize him in 3 because he's killed off within like 2 seconds.
Okay, because like they are friends, and they were both had TV shows on at the same time, and so because of scheduling conflicts, one couldn't. Because I think Zach Levi was cast, but then had a conflict, and then his buddy took it over.
Yeah,
and
Chuck.
then he had Chuck, and then on the second film, that guy had scheduling conflicts, so then Zach Levi took it over.
That's funny.
Yeah, he played Prince Charming on Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, I still need to watch that show.
There's a point when you can stop because the entire cast.
Well, the problem. Here's the thing. I'm gonna stop after season 6 because like.
I think that's after
also,
I think it's when the whole cast quits.
Yeah, because for me also, like my big thing is that show looks very Lost heavy, and I'm a fan of that, so I'm in.
We watched for a while, and it's
Lost with fairy tale characters. That's the sense I get.
I remember Once Upon a Time where ABC picked up the option to do Fables as an ABC television series, and then they like quit, and then ABC like a couple months later announced Once Upon a Time, and I was like, fuck that, I will never watch this show.
Yeah,
it's like very obvious what they did.
They're also putting Wonderland.
Yeah, we could just do this with the characters that we've already put in movies, because
they're putting the Wonderland.
It's like why do we have to pay for a license of a franchise when we could just like use the public domain and make our own thing?
They are using their versions of those characters.
Yeah, like there is a season where Elsa shows up for half of it because Frozen was a fucking monster of a hit.
That's after the show was horrendous. There's a point where they have a Maleficent, but she's playing the animated version Maleficent. They also had Mulan on the show.
There's an Alice in Wonderland spin-off they came out with that only lasted one season. I think it's going to be on Disney Plus soon.
The coolest thing that show did was they had stuff from the King Arthur, The Sword and the Stone, which is a very underrated Disney movie.
That's getting a remake apparently.
Okay, but like they had some
getting
cool
a remake.
Shit there.
They're remaking Lilo and Stitch. They have a director.
Wait, how are you remaking that movie? They're not making a sequel. They're remaking it.
Yeah, they're doing like a live action thing.
Oh, I don't mind that. So who's The Rock playing?
Are you talking about Lilo and Stitch? Or are we talking about?
Yeah, in Lilo and Stitch, because it's like, if they do that movie, it's live action. Then you have to get all Pacific Islander actors. So like The Rock will be in it.
Maybe he'll be the big guy, the the child services guy.
Well, no, he won't be, because like the idea of like the agent of the state, like he's foreign. Like he's not. I mean, it's like he's from the States. Like he's not Hawaiian. His whole point is he is breaking up this family, much in the way that the United States broke up Hawaii.
The guy they got to enter directing talks is John Chu. He's been coming up and up. He has done 3
The Fast and the Furious guy?
No, that's Justin Lin. No, John Chu has done 3 step-up movies. Or no, 2 step-up movies.
Oh, he's a G.I. Joe Retaliation guy.
And he's the Gem and the Holograms guy, and Crazy Rich Asians.
I have a friend who worked on Gem and the Holograms.
Well, one of those things is not like the others, and that's why he's allowed to do this movie. Look, he's already done a movie with The Rock.
Yeah, Gem and the Holograms.
I'm guessing
and Joe.
Dwayne Johnson will be a voice of an alien, and that's how they'll I can't think of the word. Like subvert. That's the word. Like the idea of like having to have him in the movie.
I can see them getting the girl who played or voiced Moana like somehow involved.
I don't know, man. I don't think this will happen. Do you guys like know about like the scene that was altered for that movie?
No, I've only seen it once. The movie.
There's a couple like kind of like really funny there's a couple like animatics of like alternate takes for scenes that are like pretty good. But like there was like one where they had to actually like completely change the CGI parts for the movie because it's like involved like a plane flying in between buildings.
Oh, like 9/11-y.
And this movie came out basically like 9 months after 9/11.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, we can't have this in the movie.
Oh. We somehow got into this weird hole from talking about Once Upon a Time and the guys in Thor. So yeah, like I don't know. It's all that stuff is interesting with DC. To kind of roll into the other big topics. So we had PS5 and Xbox. What do we call it? Xbox Series?
Isn't it called the Xbox Series X?
Well, it's the Series X and S.
The Sexbox?
Yes, there's the Sexbox Tiny and the Sexbox Extra.
The Flesh Box?
And the small one's the white one and the big one's the black one.
Of course it is.
The Sexbox Flaccid and the Sexbox I'm just gonna drop it.
Well, I think we got the title for our episode.
Yes. So they came out.
Here's the thing, man. Sony, it's like, what are we gonna call our console? PlayStation 5. Like Gold Star, there you go. Like I just kind of just don't understand like why Microsoft's gotta like base. It's like it's like call it the Xbox something. It's like because it's like at this point you have like so many Xbox Series X.
Well, it's worse now. Like
Xbox One X SKUs that it's just like it's so confusing.
Yeah, because the problem is, and it stems back, and this is dumb marketing. Was that after the Xbox, they're like, well, we can't call it Xbox 2 because it'll be Xbox 2 and the PS3. So then people will think ours is worse.
Xbox,
and that is the only reason why it's called Xbox 360.
Xbox Squared. What's the problem there?
And I always thought like Xbox always had like really kind of cool code names for the systems. Like the Xbox One was codenamed Scorpio, and and the Xbox Series X was codenamed Scarlet. And I understand like maybe like there's like some like oh we can't call it a Scarlet because it's like it's too feminine or something. Like, but I don't know, man. I feel like at the end of the day, it's like just have like a really kind of cool name, like Nintendo Switch. What a great name for a console.
Yeah.
It also the name of the console kind of just tells you everything that's about the console.
Well, and it's also like what Nintendo's done for forever. Like the Wii was like a great name for that console.
Wii U was like not, and that's
No,
like
we don't talk about Wii U. It was the worst idea for the name of a console.
Even though like the Wii U, like man, what a fucking great console for the time it existed.
It was very much like it was a good system that conceptually was way too confusing for consumers and had a terrible name.
Terrible name. I think like, but like all the killer apps for that game ended up becoming first party Switch games like within a year. So it's like, oh, it's like
that's what Nintendo's known for, though. So
also, I love the Switch. Like, what a great console! But that's just.
Yeah, I have one. It's sitting right in front of me. Like I've been playing Hades.
I have been playing No More Heroes 2 for the first time.
I've been replaying through No More Heroes 1 right now. And No More Heroes 1 is like a top 5 game of all time to me.
No More Heroes 1
I had that on the Wii.
Time.
Yeah, and like the Switch version of No More Heroes 1 and 2 is like the good version that was on the Wii.
Good.
And not the bad version that was on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Which and again, Nintendo's like it's kind of their history that they've always just had good names. Like they've just always had good names for systems.
Yeah, GameCube, Virtual Boy,
calling it like a Super Nintendo, not Nintendo 2. N64 is such like a good name convention.
It's like the time when it was called the Ultra 64.
Oh.
Which you can still see remnants of it when you play Killer Instinct in arcades, and it's like it's like powered by the Ultra 64, available at home in 1995, or like whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny because like I don't know if they have these by you. This might be like a weird bougie thing by me, but there's like a Facebook group. Apparently they're like everywhere there, where it's like called like Buy Nothing, and somebody put up like a shit ton of gaming stuff. And they gave away. I got the original version Sega Genesis, like the big one, a Game Gear, a PSP, a PlayStation 1, a 360, and a bunch of games for everything for free.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any groups like that around here because like everyone here like tries to. They're like, oh, I found like this Genesis, $500. It's like,
I thought you were going to say like they're selling it for meth.
No, like we actually have a retro gaming expo that happens here every year. It's pretty nice, but kind of also the problem with it is like everyone is like asking like an arm and a leg for. Like, I felt like not to like get too heavily into gaming, like classic gaming. But I thought like with the pandemic, a lot of game prices would go down. But if anything, like they've risen.
They skyrocketed because people. What I did learn, which if you're into this at all, and I'm probably going to buy one at some point, every cartridge system, and this one company, and now there's a second company, has made like a cartridge chip that you can put an SD card in with that will play all the ROMs you can download offline.
Yeah, man. Nintendo's been trying to fight that since like the Game Boy Advance days.
Yeah. So like there's the one for the Genesis that I'm going to get at some point. It's like $200. But you can play all of Master System, Genesis, and Sega CD games off of it because they all played through the Genesis system.
Yeah, man, there's like it's like funny like I don't want to like I don't really like want to own a Genesis, but I want to play Jewel Master again. Which is like a $25 game for some reason, even though no one's ever like really heard about it. And no one.
Wait, Duel Master, the Yu-Gi-Oh knockoff?
No, it's called Jewel Master.
Oh, I heard Duel Master. I'm like the Yu-Gi-Oh knockoff.
No, it was like a side scroller where you were like a guy, and you would like
played this before,
and you would pick up rings, and you could like combine the rings to get different powers, and some of the rings were hidden within the level, but like there were rings that you would get by beating bosses.
Okay.
This was like a classic side scroller adventure game.
Yeah.
Like a better version of like if you've ever played Altered Beast, which I think is like a famous bad version. Although I
Yes.
loved that as a kid, this is like a
Yeah,
better version of that.
Yeah, and I remember like people were like, "Oh yeah, Ultra Beast is so good." I'm like the music's cool, the monster designs are cool, like
The game
to
just played like
experiment with the
shit.
rings is cool. Oh,
Altered Beast, I was talking about.
Ultra Beast, yeah.
Yes. No, Altered Beast like has some really cool designs. Like it's very Conan the Barbarian-esque time, in fun ways. It's just like a bad game. There was one point in the mid '90s they were going to do a sequel for I think like the PS2 generation.
I think that game actually came out, and basically like the studio closed down. Actually, I want to say like 100% that game did come out.
Really? I'm looking it up right
And,
now.
and it's like a historically kind of bad Sega fumble.
Oh my god, it did.
Speaking of games,
And this was
Came
like
out on it came out on the PS2.
yeah,
Yeah.
and this was, and I feel like this was also like really around a time where
Never came out in the States.
yeah, it was like a Europe game only.
It was Europe and Japan. Came out the year we because we're the same age. The year we graduated to high school. Yeah, 19. Yeah, it's 2005.
Which was like really at a time where I feel like a lot of Japanese developers had like a real identity crisis of what they, wanted to be as, it's like we gotta cater to like the American market. So instead of just doing like a really good Final Fight game, we gotta do a Final Fight game where like everyone's addicted to drugs and everyone's cursing and it's basically just like grim and gritty because that's what the American it's like GTA is popular. We gotta make whatever like GTA is, I'm kind of glad
Oh my
that
god,
like
this
we
doesn't
don't
even
really have that
sound
anymore.
like the same game, except for the fact that you turn into monsters. So you turn into a merman, a Garuda, which I don't know what that is.
Like from like Zelda.
A Garuda, a legendary bird or bird-like creature in Hindu. Oh,
Uh,
you turn into bird person. You turn into a Wendigo, a Minotaur, and a dragon.
we have gone very much off the beam path.
Yeah.
so PlayStation 5 and Xbox.
Yeah. They're impossible to get if you didn't have them pre-ordered. You had to battle your way against armies of bots to get one. I was able to snag a PS5 off of Sony's website through some like there's a workaround from like their site to get through the queue. I followed like a bunch of Twitter things to get it. But yeah, they're just like impossible to find anywhere at this point. Apparently, COVID made it worse this launch because no stores were having in stores all online.
I think like also it's like a lot of just artificially
Induced scarcity.
Yeah, it's like the thing that Nintendo does. It's just like, well, like, no.
Well,
I don't know,
Nintendo does it to their own detriment,
Yeah.
I think. But like this round's like so for the PlayStation, it's impossible to get a digital because of the $100 difference. They're impossible to find, and they didn't make enough because Sony didn't think that the one that was $100 cheaper would be more in demand. And I think both systems had really good sales, but like I don't know. But the big thing is, of course, that for the PS5, they had a bunch of big launch titles. One of them was Miles Morales.
Which I have beaten.
So it's like, what would you call it? It's not a sequel. It's like a 1B.
If everyone remembers how Uncharted Lost Legacy was, Uncharted Lost Legacy kind of started as Uncharted 4 DLC, but became so big that it became its own like mini spin-off game that had the scope and ambition of a big AAA title like Uncharted 4, but was crammed.
It's Majora's Mask.
Yeah. Majora's Mask felt big though to me.
Like how many hours? Because you beat it. How many hours do you think the main game is?
8 to 10.
That's pretty short. I don't know. I am excited to play it, but like that game has. I know you weren't a big fan of the first game, Siler, so like, but it did have good replayability for me.
So does this one. The thing I will say about this game is if you've played Spider-Man and you enjoyed that, you're gonna enjoy Miles Morales.
I mean, like I feel like I'm more excited to play Miles Morales than I was that Spider-Man game.
I will say Miles Morales I think controls a lot better than Peter. I love his movements, I love his animations. I pre-ordered the game, so I got the Into the Spider-Verse suit and the mod like automatically, and that shit's cool as hell.
Yeah, like I think like the thing that's like kind of funny to me is like there's like 2 games I want to play on the PlayStation 5. It's Miles Morales and it's Bugsnax. And I can play
which they gave out free.
which I can play both those games on the PlayStation 4. Like
Yeah.
I gotta pay for
That's what I
Bugsnax,
did.
but
That's-
like I feel like they're like the big exclusive PlayStation 5 only game is Dark Souls. And it's like I don't know, do I want to spend whatever amount of money for Dark Souls? Like I don't know.
So
Man.
I'm not going to get one. And Sackboy is PS4 also, but I'm not getting a PS4 or PS5 rather right out the gate. I'm gonna wait till like a Horizon comes out or something, or Ratchet and Clank comes out.
Yeah, well, I'll say like I sold my PS4 Pro, and it's paying for 2/3 of the price.
I hate to be a doubter. Did you hear about the voice actor for Ratchet?
What did he do?
Oh, isn't he like an masker guy?
He's anti-masker QAnon. He's also the voice of Obi-Wan in Clone Wars.
No.
I think that's why I heard this because of the Clone Wars stuff.
And he's also like he does like another like really he's Tidus from Final Fantasy X.
Oh well, fuck him because I hate that game. I know that is my hot take. I know I'm on an island.
Final Fantasy X sucks. Like you won't
everyone
get no punk
loves
from me.
it. Everyone loves it, and I'm like, I fucking hate that game. That game came out when I was a senior in high school. I beat it in a weekend, and when like the big twist came, I was like, oh, fuck this game. Fuck this. Fuck Titus. As much as people are like, oh, I don't like mopey protagonists. Well, you know what's worse? A bitchy, annoying one.
You know what? There's like Lulu is a queen, and that's about it. And Orin's cool. That's all my like takes on that game.
Oh, Orin is the best. But then like you're not a fan of Waka? Like you're not a fan of like Japanese interpretation of like a Pacific Islander?
I like Waka enough, and I like that Waka and Lulu are like dating. It's like it's like what?
We're saying, I think he's coming out and saying that like all the stuff that he's been claiming about all the stuff he's been saying isn't true. Like I guess like hold on, I'm listening to it right now.
He's on Parlor.
Oh no.
Keep talking, I'm gonna listen to this.
But it's like Waka is like this like sporty jock, and Lulu as his big boob goth girlfriend. Like it's cute. And like I like Riku, but yeah, like it's like Yuna is like not very good in that game. She doesn't really kind of get good until X2, and X2 I think is like a far better game than X.
Yeah, never played it because I was like, why do I want to play a sequel to a game I don't like?
Yeah, which I feel like is also like a very controversial thing to say, but I actually didn't like Final Fantasy as a franchise until I played the 7 remake, and I was like, oh, like this game's really good.
Sorry, I had to listen to that video without the notes in the back. But what I'm hearing is apparently he is saying it's untrue. I think someone is saying that is him on Parlor when it is not him on Parlor. And Parlor is a site I think that's not fact-checking. Mark Hamill, Steve Bloom, John Bailey, all have come to his defense. And all of them are pretty aren't.
Okay, then I'll retract my thing then.
Yeah, like Mark Hamill even said, anyone who knows you knows these accusations are untrue. Beware of Parler, self-described pro free speech website that promises not to fact check content on Facebook and Twitter. Increasingly, we were flagged viral fake news and misinformation. Fact checking is important. So yeah, I don't think this is true. I think someone's just fucking with.
What's really funny to me is I had to actually explain what Parler was to my wife and brother-in-law and his girlfriend today because of like a text message my brother got that wasn't meant for him from a family member. And he was like, "Oh, join leave Facebook and Twitter and join Parler." I was like, "They're like, do you guys know what Parler is?" And they're like, "No." And then I had to explain, and they're like, "Oh, god damn it." But I don't know. I'm excited to play Miles. I do get what you guys are saying. Like, I think the idea is that they're not, and it's for both companies, they're not abandoning the last gen yet, which happened last time around.
Because for me, it's like I still get to play the game on like last gen, and I can wait for next gen for the ray tracing.
Yeah, it usually takes like a good year for them to like straight out abandon last gen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, sure, but it's like you also like launch with exclusive hardware. Like Xbox launched with Killer Instinct, and PlayStation launched with I don't know. The game I bought was Resogun. So
did you buy it? buy a PS5?
I bought PS. Well, no, I bought PS4 like day
Oh, you
one.
mean PS4? Okay, yeah.
I got PS4 like 2 years after the fact when Arkham Knight came.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got PS4 pretty early on in the launch. And yeah, it took like a real. I'm trying to. It took almost like a full year for like the new PS3 games to like not like for them not to extend us both of each new system when I was at GameStop. So it took like a full year, but like there was also, and I'm sure it's this time around too. Like there's a significant quality difference. Usually not the first batch of games that come out. You don't nearly. It's just going to be graphical, but it was like the second round of games was when you saw like the big kind of
Oh yeah, and if you look
like
at what
differences.
coming, like down the line, I mean, they're gonna have Cyberpunk at some point. They're gonna have
It'll come out eventually
eventually Far Cry.
when we
6,
actually have that future. That'll come out.
Ghost
What are you talking about? It comes out. Cyberpunk comes out like on
December
Xbox and PlayStation 5.
10th. You're gonna have like God of War. You're gonna have Ratchet.
I actually cannot wait for the new God of War. I loved the last one.
The last one.
I did not like it at all.
I don't, and the thing is, I did not
Wow.
like the old God of Wars at all. I
Yeah,
hated
same here.
those games.
The old God of War I
Same
thought was
here.
fine. I actually binge played through all of them on my friend's PlayStation 3 because he let me borrow it because I'd never played a single one before. But yeah, I think after coming from those and then coming to so radically Team God of War, I loved it. So give me that. And then Gotham Knights, Horizon, and then did you guys hear about this game Kena, Bridge of Spirits?
No.
Oh, it looks delightful. It's like a platforming action adventure game where you're this young spirit guide who has magical abilities to help deceased people move from the physical to the spirit world, and it looks gorgeous.
Oh, it sounds like
But anyway,
I was going to
Sarah
mention
was
an
gonna say something.
anime.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
I don't know. Like, I'm excited to get the system and like I'll play around with it. It looks cool as hell. Like, it's fucking gigantic. And I'm excited to get it.
Yeah, like I'll get a system when Resident Evil 8 comes out. I think that game looks really fun.
Excuse
And then,
me,
like,
it's Resident Evil Village. It's not 8 or Capcom. Come on.
But then like Guilty Gear Strive comes out in April, which I'm like hoping that game like kind of like really comes together. But yeah, I just like kind of never been like a big first party Sony guy. Like Horizon's cool, but like I actually like really want to play the new Yakuza game on the Xbox.
Oh, it looks really
like-
interesting. I've read I read up a lot of it. It looks really cool.
Yeah, like a dragon. In like the Yakuza games, okay, like this is gonna
Wait,
sound.
before I let you up, did you hear the statement that the main creator said why he doesn't let his characters go into fighting games?
Yeah, he doesn't want to fight women, which is like
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was like, that's such a cool. I was like, yeah, guy, yeah.
well, and it makes sense for that character. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But then it's like you just put Goro Majima in the game then. Because Goro Majima will just fight anyone.
And the new story for the new game sounds like really interesting. You're like a guy that went to jail, like took the rap for another dude, and you come out and they erased your family. So you gotta start from the bottom and you're gonna like get revenge on the dude that like fucked you over.
Yeah, like
ooh, this is fun.
And this is gonna I'm gonna sound like the big old fucking snob on this podcast because I like said that I didn't like the Spider-Man game and I didn't like the God of War game, even though I thought the music was like kind of like the best thing about the new God of War. I thought like a lot of the other like
I
will say it's also an aesthetic that like directly is in my wheelhouse of things I love. Like I love Norse mythology, so like
I do
that
too,
game was made for me.
I do too, but the big thing for me is that like I just want like good story and good gameplay, and that game delivered that in spades.
See, like I don't even think the story's that good. Like I think the story is.
I love the story.
I think if God of War was not called God of War and it was like something else, like I probably would have liked it a lot more. But I feel like being a God of War game starring Kratos, like the guy who used to like bang a bunch of women and they have mini games where you would have sex with them and hit a button to make the bed shake and you would rip people's heads off and then like playing this game, it's like if you made like a trauma film into an Oscar film, and it's just like so jarring to me and so weird.
I agree. I think it would have actually done better if it wasn't called God of War.
Yeah.
I disagree with all of you because like I don't know.
Like,
I feel
yeah,
like the natural evolution of Kratos' character in that game.
See, I see it more as like Joker the movie. I'm like, that movie to me would have been better commentary if it wasn't the Joker and Gotham.
well, and I feel like they just like also just like correct me if I'm wrong. They just like never explain like why he's in like Viking land. It's just
he just dipped
he's
out
just
on
here.
Greece. He just failed.
He's like, I'm just here now. Like, years passed, I married some broad, and she's dead now, and I'm here with my son I kind of hate.
Yeah, after he like left, after he killed all the gods, like everyone thought he was dead because of the sword in his chest, and then he just like faked his death and like went to go live in the Northland, and like.
And now I'm gonna go kill all the Norse gods now, and it's like, okay.
Well, he wasn't until like they fucked with him.
Going to. He was gonna live a quiet life, and then the stranger kind of came, beat up him in his house, and just kept taunting him and pushing him. It's like, all right, because I'm gonna kill some people now.
But like, I love that it's like it pulls from like quote unquote real Norse mythology, not like the Marvel-esque version that like most people are referencing to. That's like the was it the Aesir and the oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting their names because there's two different god groups because Norse mythology is made.
There's a part in that game where Mimir, the head, is like, "Oh my god, I'm hanging from the hip of the ghost of Sparta," and Kratos is like, I don't want to be called that anymore. Like, let's not call me that, please."
Yeah. And if you do like that game, I highly, highly to the ends of the earth recommend you find the Neil Gaiman Norse mythology audiobook read by Neil Gaiman.
Oh, I need to listen to that.
It's awesome.
But
he does voices.
The same thing I basically kind of like wanted to like finish off with was I sound like I'm just trying to be like a contrarian about like everything, and like the thing about Yakuza, like a dragon, is like I have not like it's like I haven't like GTA I feel like in a long time because I feel like GTA 5 came out like a decade ago at this point, which is maybe like 8 years ago. But like
I've never played 5.
I think 5 is bad. Like it has like 3 different stories, and it doesn't handle all 3 of them all that well, and they end up spending up too much time with Trevor, who's just sucks. And that game, like by the end of the game, like makes you want to feel bad for Trevor, and the game like makes it feel like that's the right decision, except for Trevor is a psychopath. It's like trying to like feel compassion for the Joker. It's like, no, man. But like Yakuza, like, and I'm like a late person to the Yakuza series. Like the Yakuza games are basically like what I kind of want out of like GTA, but like having also like the fun of a Saints Row. And like the characters are all like really good, and like and the mini games are great, and has great side characters, and it's also like a franchise that's willing to like, fuck around. Like kind of like Saints Row. Like a Dragon is a RPG game. Like they did a Yakuza
Isn't it
game.
turn-based?
Yeah, they did like a Yakuza game where you fight a bunch of zombies. And it's like, yeah, and that's like part of the Yakuza franchise. And it's like it's just like really fun and neat. It's like I like, and I like that Sega has really kind of like rallied behind the Yakuza games and made them.
They're totally not backed by the actual Yakuza. I'm gonna try to figure out how to leave that silence in. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you look into Sega's background, they have connections.
I mean, I assume most probably major corporations in Japan probably do.
Oh,
like,
yes.
But yeah, like I saw some gameplay.
Hit on people, maybe.
But like I saw some gameplay of Like a Dragon done by Mori, who's like a huge VTuber, and it looks super fun. That's also my other thing lately. I've been watching a lot of VTubers.
Oh, I've been watching like, I don't know, just whatever at this point. I've been so busy trying to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Gotham, and then trying to beat Spider-Man.
Oh, my TV watching has been completely different. We finished Woke, which I highly recommend. It was really good on Hulu.
I saw your post in Pixels.
Yeah, and then we finished Queen's Gambit, which we'll see the star when we watch the movie. And this is going to be my segue. Because Queen's Gambit, it stars Anna Taylor-Joy.
Ooh.
And she is also one of the stars in the new Mutants movie that's dropping next week on Disney+.
No, not Disney+.
Oh, what's it dropping on?
It's just dropping on digital and Blu-ray.
Oh, I thought it was dropping like on Disney Plus exclusive.
No, one of us has to rent it next week.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. We'll figure it out. It's dropping. So we read through the comic book that they are basing from what we
Loosely.
can loosely basing the plot of the movie on. So it's New Mutants, the Demon Bear, I guess saga is what they kind of call it. What do they call it?
It's called the
It's-
Demon Bear arc.
Yeah, the
the
Demon
De-
Bear arc.
The Demon Bear Saga is the name
Oh,
of the arc.
okay.
Which we all kind of went through like this specific trade that so it has some aspects from New Mutants 1, which Scott, you looked up, that came out in what, 83?
It's New Mutants number 3.
Yes, but I mean like there's some excerpts from New Mutants 1 to give us backstory on Danny Moonstar.
Yeah,
No,
just
that issue is issue number 3.
Oh, okay.
Like where it's like her, like the scene where it's like her and Rain are like talking about, it's
Her
like
past?
whatever.
Okay, because it says
And then,
excerpt
her past.
from New Mutants 1 at the top.
I'm looking at the cover. It's issue 3.
Okay, I guess they pull like in issue 3 they pull stuff from issue 1 directly, which is interesting. I don't know. This trade is like pulling stuff from all over the place. So basically, it opens up with Rain, who is I don't know, what would you say, like a lycanthrope mutant? She can turn into a wolf in different stages.
Yeah, so I think it's like probably better if we basically do like a quick recap of like who are the new mutants and who's on the
Yes.
team. So
Well, and I guess also like why this group was made in real life, like this line is kind of important too.
Mhm.
Because this is post, so this is the Chris Claremont taking over the X-Men. Basically, the X-Men that everybody kind of knows is like that main Chris Claremont taking over. So we've had the blue, like the original team. I think they usually call them like the blue team. Then you had the second group, which was like the Wolverine, and they aged up all those characters. So they were like, well, we like the aspect of having these young teenagers kind of dealing with like their growing powers. So they're like, well, why don't we have like the next batch, basically, not to steal from Gremlins too, but and so that's what the New Mutants are. They're like this like second generation of mutants, of kids, teenagers getting their mutant powers, while our original teams are now like young adults. I believe is kind of like what they were making it. So we get a new team of whole new mutants that aren't related to anybody else.
And like also it's like much like how the Uncanny team is like kind of like very multicultural. Like you have Storm, Colossus,
Yes.
Thunderbird.
This follows that even more so.
Wolverine from Canada. The New Mutants are like, it's like basically like these kids. You have Rain Sinclair, whose codename is Wolfsbane, Scottish teenager who can change into like a wolf, like a
And
werewolf.
also really, really loves Jesus.
Yeah, she's Scottish, so she's very Christian. And she doesn't just turn, like, she can turn into a wolf in different stages
I
of
believe
wolf and
Catholic.
human.
I believe it's Catholic.
Catholic? Okay.
But yeah, and she has like this duality of like growing up within like a religious village and treated as a monster, and she views like her mutant ability as in devilish in tone.
It's very similar to Nightcrawler in some ways. Wasn't she an orphanage? Wasn't she an orphanage kid?
She was raised as an orphan by an abusive pastor named Reverend Craig, who beat religion into her from an early age. And when she was revealed as a mutant, Reverend Craig led an angry mob intending to burn her at the stake, but she was rescued by Moira in the comics and adopted.
Okay, which the burning of the stake thing plays into the book.
And Raven Craig is a character who also like will show up later as being as part of the Purifiers, who are like religious zealots who want to kill the mutants.
Yes, which if you've watched X2, Stryker was like a main Purifier guy at one point.
Stryker!
Yep.
Um,
And then you have Sam Guthrie, Cannonball, Sweet
AKA
Kid,
Southern
like,
Hit Kid,
Open the
right?
whole
from
comic.
from the Midwest, huge family, like the Guthrie, like there's a couple other Guthries who will show up as like characters later on in the X-Men
And
series,
he's going
but
to be played by Jonathan from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, which we missed. Maisie Williams is playing Rain in the movie.
I'm just like talking about like
The characters.
if you want to talk about like the actors, like I feel like we could talk about the actors like next week.
Oh yeah, I'm just
We're
like
just
saying I don't even know anybody else besides
Oh,
Anna Taylor
okay.
Joy.
And his codename is Cannonball. And his whole thing is he's not invulnerable when he's blasting. So like he can like shoot himself like a cannonball, and he has like a flame that'll shoot out from the back of him. And while
Like his
he's
legs,
like his legs become fire.
I had I had his toy. It came with a little launch pad.
And
Yeah,
like
he shoots. It's like the Rocketeer, except he doesn't need a rocket, and his front part is like a comet and just can bust through anything.
Yeah. Yep. Then there is Roberto Bobby da Costa. He's Brazilian. He can manipulate solar energy. So like when he like powers up, he becomes like all black, like he's like a silhouette, and he'll like shoot out
Yes,
like
we don't
solar
mean like his features. Like he doesn't become a black person. He like is void of light.
But like but Bobby DaCosta is like also like one of those characters who over the span of his like being in comics, like artists have drawn him like lighter and lighter, like from his like original depiction in the comics.
Yes, because like in the comics, he's a darker Brazilian character, which I do think is something we'll end up talking about like next week. But he's drawn more as like, at least in this book, kind of more like very indigenous person bloodline, compared to more
darker
modern.
skin, super into Magnum PI.
Yeah, and in current comics, he's like a big part of the New Mutants book, which most of these characters still are, which I think is really cool. And he's like a rich billionaire douche now.
Yeah, he owns AIM, I believe, still. Or at least he owned AIM, because there was like a U.S. Avengers book, and it was like him owning AIM, and it was like Squirrel Girl and a couple other people. That book is really rad.
And last I checked, he was hooking up with Deathbird.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is Danny Moonstar, who's kind of like the main focal point of this arc. Codename Mirage. Like, I think she has like a different name, because she's like one of those characters who also has had like several different code names over the span
and
of
power
her book.
changes over time.
But currently she's known as Mirage, Native American mutant who can create illusions based off of the fears and desires of other people. Later on becomes a Valkyrie. She's like really cool. I feel like Marvel like they haven't done a whole lot with her, but when they do stuff with her, it's really rad.
Oh, she's been in the new stuff, the Hickman stuff. She's been like kind of a more, I wouldn't say major, but like she's kind of like a mid-major character.
Which character?
Like Mirage, Danny Moonstar.
Oh, okay.
That she has been one of the main, like more focal characters, especially in that New Mutants book specifically. And she's popped up in some of the other books in Hickman's run. I do also think that, especially coming from like an educator viewpoint, the fact that they even, and I also want to say this when we end up meeting Warpath later on, the fact that like in 1983, they don't just call her like, oh, a Native American, and there is some bad language in here that we'll talk about, but like the fact that like they specifically name her her tribe, I think is actually like very progressive for the time. Like it's something still a lot of things are bad about.
Yeah, and I feel like she's also like another one of those characters, like I think for like better or worse, because it's like do you not like want it to be her main focal point, but you also don't like want it to erase like her heritage. But like I feel like they've also kind of like made her look less ethnic as the book has gone on, like kind of like erase like a lot of like that stuff, but like again, like not being not being native, like I feel like I do not have like really like a thing to kind of like stand on like that kind of argument.
Well, she still always maintains her like bow and arrow, and usually her headband, which I don't know. It's basically she's kind of had the same costume always. I just put like, so this is from one of like the Hickman books. And you can see her, like, she still's wearing the New Mutants costume, like the yellow and black, and she rocks her bow, and she has her headband.
Yeah, and the headband's always kind of like stuck around. Same with like the wrapped braids.
I also posted a cover of New Mutants as like one of my favorite like New Mutant covers. Like this, there's like a run in the 2000s by Zeb Wells. It's like I feel like super underrated and really good. And if like this sounds rad, like go back and read like that Claremont era X-Men or that Claremont era New Mutants because it's like really fun. But like also like if you want something that's a little bit more modern, like that I think it's like I think it's New Mutants Volume 3.
I just found an image of her that like I just need to share.
Yeah, man.
I guess you might have been in
that's like someone's fetish.
X-Men Evolution at some point in the cartoon, which I need to go back and watch. But like I like her current design, like because she has the headband. She also has like where her two pigtails are like tied down. You can kind of see in that one cover art. Like I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like that, like even to current day, there's kind of like the core like 4 or 5 New Mutant characters are still kind of part of that team and being like Rain, Danny Moonstar, and Cannonball and Sunspot.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just still there because I think Cannonball is now married to a Shi'ar, like not Gladiator, like someone that's equal level as Gladiator.
Yeah, he's like very much married to.
I don't remember what like this. It's like a royal guard or something like that, or some weird thing like that.
He's married to Smasher, who, if I remember right. Oh my god, this is like me like trying to like remember. Yeah, Smasher, who is a. Oh my god, they don't even have like a thing highlight for her on Wikipedia. But yeah, Smasher. I think
she's like royal guard of the Shi'ar or something like that.
She's Shi'ar or Kree. She's like one of like those like space races, like one of those two that are like intrinsically like tied to. Like it actually makes sense that Shi'ar because like the X-Men always are dealing with the Shi'ar.
Yeah, because I think that's how they end up hooking up. Where Sunspot hooks up with Deathbird is like through because he went to go visit them. So I think there's like 2 other big New Mutants that we need to talk about.
Aren't in the story.
Well, one is Ileana.
She's in the movie.
Yep. Okay. Yep. She is part of the Imperial Guard, which is part of the Shi'ar Empire. There we go. Sorry, just need to get that out of my mind. So the last character.
Well, there's 2 more characters. Only one of them, I think, is in the movie. Ileana is in both.
Yeah. So like the last main. Oh, yeah. You're right. So there's Ileana Rasputin, magic, sister of Piotr Rasputin, Colossus. Her mutant ability, if I remember right, is she can create teleports.
Yeah, she has like time space where she can teleport through Limbo, which is an actual place in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, well, so she can just create portals like anywhere, but she spent time in Limbo, which is a not quite hell, but a part of hell, where she learned also how to become a magician. She can summon a soul sword, which is a sword that is made of her own soul, and she can do magic.
Which is why that's her name, and also why she's one of the 10. I think she's one of the swords, and she's one of the 10 and 10 of swords.
Yeah, and like she's also like really rad and one of my favorite X-Men characters. Like she's always had like really great costumes, like really great look, really cool powers. But yeah, she's
also always like the most badass character in any situation she's in. Like I feel like she's one of the few characters that like when shit's going down, Wolverine looks at her and just gives a nod and she knows what's up. Like that's her character level. Like she's like one of the 5 mutant like bad motherfuckers that you don't want to like have to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really fun, seeing that this is like a book that's kind of her origin story in many ways to the team. And the last character, who I'm pretty sure is not in the movie, is Magma.
No, Magma is not in the movie.
So Magma debuts in issue 8 of New Mutants. Her name is Amara Aquila. Her whole thing is she's from Nova Roma, which is
Oh
like
God,
which is like
goddamn Nova Roma.
which is like a fictional country within Marvel that is like intrinsically tied to the X-Men in many different ways.
So can I explain? So
Yeah.
if you know what the Savage Land is, Savage Land is this place in Antarctica that's like caveman times with real dinosaurs. Nova Roma is this pretend place in South America where they still act like it's like the Roman Empire, but they're in like this weird South American country.
So yeah, her ability is she basically becomes red hot magma.
Yeah,
Like,
she's like the Human Torch, but can also control like molten lava and magma.
Yep. And she can also like fly because of it.
Yes, which I do have to say, in the new Hickman books, he did something like one of the coolest combo moves I've ever seen, like video game level combo, like anime level combo move, between Magma, Iceman, and Magneto. And literally, like, they have Magma pulls up metal, like magma from the earth. Iceman freezes it, so it cools down, so therefore it becomes metal. And then Magneto just throws it at somebody. And it's like a combo move that they've been like talking about, like that they had been working on as like one of the ultimate weapons of Krakoa.
Oh, also, there's like another member in this book, Karma Jean Coleman, who Vietnamese girl. She like her powers are things like they're like psychic and
Oh
she's
yeah,
she's a telepath. She could possess minds and process like the emotions of people and animals. She shows up in like issue 8, but there's like a point where like in between
she just vanishes, right?
Yeah, because she ends up being taken over by the Shadow King. Like between the part where she shows up in this like where like the demon the demon bear kind of like is like kind of like making his move, and like between the arc of like that moment and the demon bear saga, like Karma is like kind of like written out as being taken over by the Shadow King, and something happens. But basically, it's like if you hear Jean Coyman Karma and you're wondering who that character is, it's like she shows up for like kind of a hot minute and then she's like kind of dealt away with, but she's a character that'll show up later.
Yeah, which is interesting. I just looked up. So like again,
That's cool.
another foreign character. She's also like I looked up. She's super Catholic as well.
So we have a boy from Kentucky, Vietnamese girl from Russia, guy from Brazil, girl from Scotland, like. You know, it's like
and Native American from the middle of the country.
So it's like you have like and it's like a really kind of like smart idea for Chris Claremont with like basically taking like the idea for the Uncanny X-Men and like also kind of like doing that same thing for like the New Mutant.
Yep. And so this like first part of this is basically Rain rolling up on Danny. That's just what I'm going to refer to as is it Moonstar, right?
It's Danny Moonstar.
Yeah. So I feel like it's easier for some of the characters to just call them by like their non-superhero name.
Yeah.
So Rain rolls up on Danny. She's talking about it, and this is where we get like that they have a connection, because when Rain transforms into a wolf, she's able to connect more with nature, and that somehow gives her a better connection to Danny because her powers are Native American.
Well, I think it's like the idea is like that Rain turns into a wolf. It's like
becomes like one with nature.
Not necessarily like one with nature, but it's just like she like explicitly talks about like her smell. Like she could smell like her scent, like her fear, her kindness, like kind of like stuff like that, And so it's like when she's in her wolf form, she's like. I can tell like there's something wrong because I can spell it on you. Like what is up? Like what is your problem? Like, you can talk to me. We're friends.
Yeah. But basically the most important part we get of this is we get Danny's backstory. So I'm going to say it, and please correct me if I read this wrong. So Danny, it grows up on a Native American, what do you call it?
Reservation.
Thank you. And as her powers start manifesting, she becomes more isolated, which her powers, like we said, she basically can bring out people's nightmares. into some sort of pseudo-physical form. And so she gets super isolated from the tribe. Her parents and her grandfather stick with her. Then she pulls out a nightmare, and so her parents' spirit animals or something like that is like a deer and is it a wolf? No, a deer and an eagle. No, a horse and an eagle. And she has a dream where a bear is eating a horse, and then an eagle comes to stop it, and then the bear kills the eagle. And this freaks her parents out, so they go like on a quest to go figure that out and never come back. So she then is raised by her grandfather until she can't control her powers, and then he sends her to Xavier.
Well, so she goes off and lives basically as a hermit for a while, and then she gets like a vision, like a dream about her grandfather being killed by the demon bear. Like, and so then she goes to Xavier's for help. Okay, yeah, I missed that part. So that's what we get in these like first couple pages. And then we pop over, it like cuts over to, I guess that's kind of like a flashback, and then we flash up to New Mutants issue 3, where she has a nightmare. There's like a monster face in the window. Okay, so yeah, you were absolutely right. That was issue 1. But for some reason, like the thing I was reading had it listed, like they had the cover for issue 3. So this so this is issue 3. Yeah, so issue 3, because it's 2 pages from issue 1, I think it's like a couple pages from issue 3, and then it jumps into the main story. Yeah. So in issue 3, we have her, it's like storming, this nightmare. We have this like monster in the window. She has a knife by her bed, which she pulls out, looks out the window, and then a shadow monster attacks her through the window, and she's yelling. And basically they're like, oh, this takes place between these issues of X-Men. And then we cut to all the other characters, so we see. So like the art, like, and also like I feel like I should probably also say this, like, issue 1 and I believe issue 3 is penciled by Bob McLeod, and it looks like pretty good. Like it's like kind of like what you would consider to be like kind of like very standard like comic book artwork of like that time. But I think it looks really good. And I'll just like say it at that point right now. Yeah, I would say it looks good. It doesn't look as good as the stuff we'll end up getting to. So yeah, I just basically kind of wanted to set that groundwork for like this is the art we have right now. So yeah, so we see people are having nightmares. So we see Sunspot. For some reason, like that's what when I think of him, I don't think of calling Roberto. But like, we see Sunspot. He's like gunned down by a blonde woman. We see because like his father, like there was like something that was up with like his family and like a coup or like something happened. Like they're like super rich people in Brazil or something, right? But I believe like the person that's there is like someone who is like connected to like a thing that happened with some uprising, like with his, against his family. Yeah. And then we see what was the other Karma is like, I don't even know what's going on. She looks like she's like the one that I kind of don't understand what's happening. Like, it looks like she's, like, OD'd on heroin, but, like, her dress or whatever is ripped, and she looks like she's been raped, maybe? I think it's, like, maybe, like, killed by, like, it's, like... It looks like she's fallen out of bed, and basically, like, with Vietnam, I feel like there's a little bit of, like, in the way her dress, her nightgown is ripped, like, it feels very sexual assaulty to me. Mm-hmm. I didn't really kind of get that, but I think it's like hard to kind of like realize like what's happening with her in this moment, like what's like because like the idea is like you're seeing these deaths and it's the like their worst nightmares. Their worst nightmare. Yeah, because we see Sam, who's a cannonball, he's buried alive. Or I guess he's like crushed under rocks. Yeah, like a cave in because I think like a lot of his family are also like people miners. Who work in the miners work in the mines. And then the easiest one to pick out is Rain is being burned at the stake by a bunch of religious people. Because of a fire bikini? No, I don't know if either of you guys noticed that. Oh, I thought the ropes were just on fire. Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe. I don't know. It just looks like a weird like I see it now. Yeah. So then Danny's like fighting this thing, and then she grabs it. Well, look, because it looks like it's like when I say shadow, it's like all colored in, very
Crisis on Infinite Earths like shadow monster, and then now as we go on, it gets like more and more defined.
You think
But it has hair.
You think Marv Wolfman and George Perez saw this stuff was like, hey, wait a minute.
It looks actually kind of Venom-esque with the eyes and the mouth.
Okay.
And then she grabs it and pulls off, I guess, a mask, and it's a bear underneath, like
Like-
a literal.
Like Scooby
Grizzly
Doo, like
Yes.
Scooby Doo is like, now we'll see who really is like this shadowy
It
presence.
was you,
Oh,
Mr. Jenkins, all along.
Oh, it was the demon bear all along.
So she does this. She jumps out of bed. She's screaming, and then
I just want a Scooby Doo episode now where the demon bear is like the main villain.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
like she pulls out the mask and the bear is
Surprise, Danielle? Can it be that after all these years you've forgotten me?
By the great spirit, the bear who murdered my parents, come at last to kill me too.
and then she like wakes up out of this like nightmare, and Sam and Roberto like run in. They're like figuring out like what's going on. Xavier's fucking useless because he's just like, oh, like, hey man,
he's Xavier.
yeah, like Xavier can read minds, and I've never seen a character be more useless in this instance.
Yeah, and then it ends with like she's like, oh, they're like, oh, nothing happened, and then she looks at her knife, which has blood on it because in like the first panel she like stabs the bear, or she stabs the shadow. So then now we pop to New Mutants 17, and this was when like the first time I was shocked, and I was like, what the fuck is Danny wearing?
Yeah, so I think this is set after where Magma joins the group, and this is
because Magma and Kitty Pryde are there, and then the other character's gone. Karma's gone.
And Nova, and like I think this is like directly after Nova Roma. Karma's like infected by the Shadow King. Danny Moonstar is wearing like some fucking weird
loincloth.
Like she's wearing some like cave woman outfit.
Yeah, that's what's like. It's very like it's one
like
strap
weird.
across, and then Wonder Woman like bracelets and around her biceps.
It looks
And then,
like a
like-
weird, sexy Tiger
But
Lily.
the most
outfit,
important
and I
thing
don't
is-
know how I feel about it.
But basically, the most important thing
People
is
know.
at the very last two panels is something calling out to Moonstar, and like a smoke comes up and looks like a bear and says, "None can save thee, little Cheyenne. Neither God nor man. Make thy peace. Bid farewell to thy friends. For I, they that claim thy mother and thy father, will soon come for thee."
Yes.
And then like next, Bill Sanquit's first issue. Daniel Moonstar's Last Stand, and much, much more. The Death Hunt.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we get this great cover. by
The
Bill
cover is
Sanquit.
awesome with her with like the X on. Like it looks so goddamn rad.
it gave me a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of vibe.
Yes. Which, by the way, like the first like page is very like I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh yes. So
and-
yeah, it's like how do we describe it? So it's Danny under a blanket that's made up of a ton of like little squares, and then it's like checkered by her, like a quilt, but like it looks more digital squares. Like if that makes sense. It's not like
It looks like a red and white crossword, but like as
Yes,
you go
crosswords.
further down, it becomes instead of like red and
instead
white,
of red and white, it's red and black, and
And-
forms the demon bear face.
and she's like, and you only see like half of her face, and you see her,
Her
eye,
eye.
her nose, and it's like her head like her hands covering her head, like hiding from the demon bear, and it's like, and this is like the first, like other than the cover, this is the first page you get from Bill Sanquitz.
Yes.
And I don't know if I said this, but like before the podcast like turned on, or like during this podcast, so like I'm sorry if I'm like reiterating, but like this book came out like again like in 1984, 85, like, and the art, like this art like looks like art that like I feel like was just been like such a shell shock. Like the only other book
It's crazy. I thought this was like a late 80s, early 90s book because of the art.
like
and
this
it's so much earlier.
like this like looks like a book that like if you like were reading like Frank Miller's Daredevil would have just been as much of a shock, because like no other book like looked like that.
And we've seen like way later Sanquitz when we talked about that Rocketeer book, and like it's like crazy visual and like super interesting. I think this is when we get some of the stuff that like doesn't pay off in this cut, which is like we have a version of Rain who's come from the future going to the past but's older that never comes back around, really? The part with like her and the cop and she sees Xavier gunned down?
Yeah. I like a lot of this is also me like remembering from Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. So like if this sounds like very like interesting to like a lot of you and you don't like really want to like do a whole lot
Go
of
back
reading,
and read a 1982 comic book series.
I would highly recommend checking out Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, which is a podcast that basically chronologically like talks about the history of X-Men. Like the first issue or the first episode is basically like 1 through 5 of the original Stan Lee, Jack Kirby X-Men, and they just like I'm like a little bit behind right now. I just got done listening to episode 305, which is like 5 episodes removed from the end of the Age of Apocalypse. Episode 300 was the Age of Apocalypse. And 305 is them building to Onslaught. So like they're about in like that 95, 96 kind of like era of X-Men. So like 300 episodes, that's your basic gist of like how far they've kind of gone into the X-Men.
Yeah, I literally just subscribed to it right now. I'm going to start listening to it. But like that part doesn't like pay off in our book. So
yeah, which is like also like there's like 2 other things that happen in this book that also don't pay off, but we'll get to those also.
Yeah, but what I do love is like we then enter into the danger room scene, which is fucking awesome with Sunspot, Cannonball, and Magma just like wrecking fucking house.
Yeah, that was
and
cool.
the art is rad as fuck.
Yeah, like these robot designs, like the way Roberto looks, where he's just like it's just like devoid of color.
Yeah, he's literally just like scribbled, like not scribbled, like well, kind of in some aspects where he's really like he's drawn in the negative space, kind of, because the definition is in his hair and like sort of in his hands, and then it's just he's just a black.
And then like the next page we get like Cannonball and Magma, and like I love like these action lines on Cannonball.
Oh, his thought things is like, oh, this is actually a team learning how to fight. Also, these robot designs remind me of like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z robots.
I like so on page 19, panel 3, I like that Cannonball is actually doing a cannonball.
Oh yes, where he's like, oh, do that thing Nightcrawler taught me, and like tuck or just your body, and then let loose in a different direction. And he does that in order to not fly into Magma. And he's like, Magma, look out! And something attacks her, and she's like, oh yeah, we'll hold this. And she starts free falling, and then Cannonball catches her. Which we also get in all this that like he has a thing for Magma, and Magma doesn't care.
Yeah, and it's like
Ileana and Danny are in the booth. I don't know what you could. They're like almost doing play-by-play, and because
and so like I also like kind of want to talk about the way that Magma is colored. Like it's like she's basically like all yellow, but then it's like they draw like these lines of red to basically like make like the magma parts, and it's just like something I really haven't kind of like really seen.
It's almost like the same thing they do with Roberto, but with yellow, except that they also color in red lines to give some like more definition. It's an interesting, like it's a very artsy style to me.
The whole art style is cool, but I think for me the art really shines is when we get to like the Demon Bear and that fight, but that's coming. But
yes, I do like. I think one of the characters where the art really shines, and it's such like a side thing. I think is actually Cannonball and like his projectileness. Like I love how it looks.
Yeah,
like it's so cool.
I actually really like so like on page 21 we see like I think it's Psyche at this point. Moonstar is like known as. But yeah, so Danny and Ileana are
Danny,
like
Ileana, and Lockheed.
Yeah, and
in like the booth.
Yeah, and they're like kind of like watching them fight and like and train. And I really love like this top panel of like Danny and like Lockheed around Magic's neck, and like the coloring of Magma. It's like it's like all yellow with like blacks, like with like the tone definition. Looks so good.
Oh, it's so interesting. And then this is, I guess, the origin of Lockheed is that he came with magic from Limbo.
I don't really kind of like know like a lot of like the beginnings of Lockheed, but I know that he is like intrinsically linked to Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, because I was thinking of him as a Kitty Pryde person, but like he's with magic here. It is interesting. So like they also basically say that the danger room is for the people with physical powers, and at this point they aren't really, because this is early, very early in Magic's thing where she's not really a physical person.
Yeah, like she has a soul sword, but like her main power set is basically like I create board.
Yeah. And they're like kind of talking through this, and we're seeing like all of this is through Danny's like exposition in like her bubbles of like talking about like, oh, we just had this run in with the Hellions, who are like the young mutant team of the Hellfire Club, and me and Ileana popped in the future, so we're actually a year older than we were, and we saw that our team joined the Hellions, and now we're back in our time, but we're physically a year older. But Ileana also freaks me out too, because she was raised by the demonic ruler, which they do the demonic, like the daemon, like Daemon.
Yeah, Damon.
Damon, not Matt, but like.
And there's like some stuff that like is not necessarily played up in this book until like a little bit later, but there's like some distrust with Rain Sinclair about Ileana, because Ileana basically grew up within like a circle of hell, for like lack of a better word, and Rain, being like a staunch Catholic, is just like, oh, like she's demon, like do not believe like this person. But for like for the most part, like they seem amicable for the most part in this arc.
What's funny to me is like they're all drawn the same, and Lockheed, I do like how he's designed, but he feels like a Hellboy character plopped in here in like a good way. Like he's so different.
He kind of reminds me of the werewolves from like Excalibur.
Yes, very similar. And Danny's basically, Ileana's basically like, Danny, you look like you got some, something on your mind. You want to tell me about it? And then Ileana's like, oh, like all this thing about going in the future. And then we cut to like, so this is like a very colorful panel. And then we cut to this like stark red and black image. That's fucking awesome. Where it's like a demon bear, but like with Jason teeth, and like Danny's face is like freaking out.
Which also it's like, so like the first time we saw the demon bear really within the comic is this kind of like I like, it's like I didn't want to like joke about like being like too Scooby-Doo, but it kind of like really kind of was like pulling off the mask and like a literal bear like being.
Oh yeah, and the second time is the smoke monster from Lost.
Yeah, and so we see like this image of the demon bear like first like drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz, and it's like its eyes, its teeth, and its shadows.
Like, I would say its eyes are, the way it's drawn is like he drew it and then took a knife and scratched out the eyes.
Yeah, like his eyes are stars. And
it's crazy, and it's so cool.
What's a demon bear?
Yeah, because it's still obviously a bear.
If we're talking about the demon bear,
well, we haven't gotten to like the big introduction of it.
But those eyes are so cool. Like it's kind of like, it looks like a cartoon character, but like it has a sinister tone to it. Like I look at it and I think, oh, like Looney Tunes eyes, and I realize, oh wait, this thing's gonna kill me.
Yeah, and basically like this is Danny saying that like she's starting to have these like dreams of the bear, and that's all this kind of is. It's very like Freddy, like Nightmare on Elm Street kind of thing here.
Yeah, and I think it's like if there's like any character, if there's like anyone on this team that would like kind of like relate to Danny Moonstar, it would be Magic, because it's like, who better to deal with like nightmares than someone who spent time in basically like a nightmare?
Yeah, because that's what the whole thing, like the next thing is like Danny's like, Ileana's sensing something wrong. She point blank asks, like, I dodged her question, but like, there's a part of her that's evil as the bear, so it frightens me, and she senses that too. And then they hear the doorbell, and Ileana goes to the door, and this is where we get like, we go back to that like old Rain, and Rain's like, what the shit's going on? You're as old as you were when I saw you die, and she freaks out and runs away. And then we don't get back to this. And then we pop over to something that I don't know, since I haven't looked up anything for the movie, was something that was rumored for the movie, which is like the tie-in to, which if you've been reading all the House of X and all that stuff, which is Warlock. And this is like very Jack Kirby-esque style stuff, which I love, and it looks fucking rad. And basically, it's this like space thing is trying to get killed by the father, and then he flies away, and that's kind of all we see.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that character showing up, but
there was a rumor that like Warlock was going to be part of the movie, that he was going to be like kind of trapped in the building, that he was like the being in the walls.
I'm also trying my best to like actively avoid spoilers because I just can't movie at this point.
But like this goes into like where it's like leaving, and then we cut to Danny is in the snow, which again, this art's so fucking rad, where it's like it's a lot of negative space, which I think is super interesting style, where like he's drawing like, so we have like the shadow of Danny with the bow and arrow, but it's all blacked out. And the next picture is like, again, it's like mostly black, but like it shows like the desperation and like the anguish in the character by doing it this way.
I think like also like look at like the way that the demon bear looks within like the danger room. Like it basically just looks like a regular bear, but with like larger claws. And, you know, like we'll soon see like, hey man, demon bear don't look like this.
Yeah, so that's what we've cut to, and like, Magic shows up and she's like, oh, like you've been training in the danger room against this bear with this bow and arrow. And it's like, oh, what's the deal? And Danny's like, it's not a thing. And it's like, you know, I don't want to be a, like, you know, if I can't use my powers and like my powers don't really help the team, like, and I'm the leader, I need to be able to hold my own. And then like, so they walk out and they close the door, and then we see like this black, it's a black panel because the door is closed, and then it's just like red, like blood red kind of
eyes
face.
and teeth.
Yeah, and the growl.
Like it reminds me a lot of if anyone's seen like Attack the Block.
Yeah, I love that movie. That is a fantastic
where it's like
movie.
the aliens in that movie are just like devoid of color and are just like white teeth and
Blue
eyes.
teeth. It's blue teeth. I don't see eyes. I just see like it's all black and it's blue neon teeth that come after you.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, they're like fluorescent.
Yeah, that's the word.
But they look like
yeah.
they look like like black voids, like gorillas with claws with like fluorescent teeth. It's actually like really similar. It's interesting.
But yeah, we have like this thing with like Danny looking outside. The snow is like, you know, coming down. She's basically like, they don't understand. This is something I have to do alone. Like, it's my fault. My parents died. Like, now this is something I need to do. And she puts on her war paint. Basically loads up. She goes outside to confront the demon bear to prove that she's worthy.
And then we end with this. Like, I love the 200 where it's like, she's like, show yourself. We have the demon bear like mentally in the horizon, but then the eyes are such a cool thing in the snow. And especially the next page with like when we first see like this demon bear, and it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and again, like
it's like it's like 4 times as big as her.
It's the whole page. It's like the bottom, like she's like she's in the foreground and she's, you know, fairly normal size. It's a full page, like vertical page, and it's like almost from the bottom of the page to the top. And like, it is ginormous. And I love, again, it's like a lot of black to like show, but it has like the brown to the bear, but it's like its mouth is crazy, its eyes still look crazy. And they show her fighting, and she's like, oh, I can pull out its worst nightmare, and its worst nightmare is her, which will feed into stuff. So then like the spirit form, the bear like smacks it away. She shoots an arrow and it hits it, and the bear's like, yeah, get the fuck out of my face. Like backhands her. I love her, like her face of horror. And then what she ends up doing is awesome. So like she pulls an arrow out of her quiver because the bear has it in its like hand, and she shoves the arrow in its mouth. So when it goes to like bite her, it puts the arrow through its own like upper part of its snout or like jaw. I don't know what you would call that, like through its palate. And then that's how it drops her. And then she and all this, like this fighting is so kinetic and awesome. I think when we cut to like seeing a full size of the bear, it's like, it's more like a black and brown, like yellowish brown, like mass with just giant claws. and shoots the arrow. It goes into its mouth, and then it drops. And she's like, "Oh, I finally defeated it. It's over." And then the bear's eyes are open, very like Jason, Michael Myers esque.
It's like that's why you got double tap.
Yeah, and then we get the next panel, Rain waking up, and now we get to see her transformation. So she goes full, which we do see that there's different levels. So she has several different levels. So she goes from human and changes into a full wolf and leads.
Yeah, it's like an animorph.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's exactly like an animorph. So she changes completely into a wolf and leads Magic, Sunspot, and Cannonball, and they find Danny like jacked up, and they're pretty much like, "Holy crap, she's dead."
Or is she?
Yeah, or is she? And that's where this episode ends. But I love their faces. Like all of them are like, Magic is her eyes are closed, and she's just like, "Shit!" Like Danny, like, why didn't you tell me? And all the other three are just like, we're kids, and we just see like our friend destroyed on the ground. They're so wide eyed.
Yeah, and I think it's like very weird that like this comic like it could honestly have been something that happens in the previous issue. If it's like, you know, Lockheed's there, but Kitty Pryde's not there. Xavier's gone.
Yeah, Xavier's in Massachusetts or some shit, and Kitty's gone. And
there's just like no parental figures like watching over like these kids who are like now being like tormented by a demon bear.
Yes. So that's the end of this like first issue of the saga, which I think it's only really like 3 issues, right?
Yeah.
And so the second one, this fucking cover for this second issue is like should be the cover for a metal album.
Yeah, I mean like, this is the cover of the trade.
Yeah, like it's the bear holding Sunspot, cannonballs firing at it, magma shooting at it, and Rain is full like werewolf.
Does anyone have static on their end?
Yeah, it's John. I'm going to mute. There we go. So the next issue starts. We're in the hospital. There are like stretchering, which tells you how this is by hand, Danny into the hospital, which again, there's a lot of red. I like all the way this looks. They're coming in, you have like all the med people. My favorite part of this is that they're like, shit, like we don't have enough time, and they're like going crazy, and then the guy cuts the jacket off and just whips it against the wall, and like it splashes blood on the wall. And then the next panel starts, and we see like the kids looking on through the glass and like in shells, like they're shell shocked, like everything that's going on. And yeah, the cop comes to talk to them, like Tom Corsi, and he's like, what's going on? And everybody gives their names, which is again like very good comic book work. To like every comic, somebody's first comic. And then they're basically, the guy's like, I haven't seen wounds like this since Vietnam. We'll just have to wait and see. They're like, as far as we can tell, she was mauled by a bear. And the cop's like, what? We're like in Westchester, New York, which there were bears in New York.
Cops kind of
not ones that could probably do that. Like there are black bears, but like, and this is where Sunspot like flips the fuck out on the cop, and they're like trying to calm down. The nurse comes in. And they're like, yeah, we're just trying to let off some steam. We're all worried. And basically, everyone's freaking out. Rain is crying. And they're like, we can't tell anybody what's going on, like who we really are. And the cop's like, there's a giant snowstorm, so Xavier can't come down, and he's her legal guardian.
I want to say that Cannonball is also wearing a Terry Austin fan club hat, and Terry Austin was an artist for the X-Men.
Oh, okay. I did not know what that was a reference to. I do like, again, this art, like for these characters, like he just like, they all just look so like distraught. And the face work, especially like this time period art for people who like, I guess are used to more modern art, might be a little, I don't know what you would call it, like distracting or hard to look at maybe. Like I really love this art style. Like this era of art, I think like they do such a good job of using like the shadow work to show like facial expressions compared to some stuff now. Like when they digitally clean it up, I kind of like the dirtiness and the rawness. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when we get to the panel when like Sunspot's just like flipping the fuck out in the window, and like how the color shifts to like he's all yellow and it's like a red outline. And I also love how Ileana's just like cold. Like it's very Russian of her to just be like, what are her chances? Like, don't lie to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, basically real, it's like a crazy snowstorm, and this is when they're like, shit, Danny's been telling us about this bear. We have to expect that like it actually was real. We should have listened to her. She was wearing war paint and arrows, and she got mauled. Like, we can't think that this thing won't come back to finish her off because it's gonna kill her. So we have to prepare, and he dumps out all their uniforms. And I like this spot where it shows like, oh, like Rain's holding her belt. And she's like, it's important to her, and they all kind of power up. And again, I love this transformation because it's like no one's gonna come in. Like he's holding the door, like unless it's like the Hulk.
Also,
And
like I also like kind of like glossed over it, but like to bring up basically like how like really kind of like fucked Danny is. It's like lacerations to her torso and extremities, abdominal trauma, crushed vertebrae, skull trauma, possible concussion.
Yeah, I think they say basically
compound
if
fractures,
she survives, she'll be paralyzed at best.
So basically, like and that panel is basically like just really good because it basically just like sets up like, okay, like this is like how dangerous like the demon bear really is. Like it's basically it's like that moment in like a fighting game where it's like, okay, like this is how serious this really is.
Yep.
I really like these black and yellow costumes, by the way.
Oh, they're so rad. Like I forgot, I'm like, oh yeah, these X-Men, like even like the blue and yellow ones are rad, but like the black and yellow like work so well. And then I love seeing this transformation by Rain. So this is her like 50-50 form where she's like full kind of werewolf.
Mm-hmm. And she has like this kind of like flat top.
Like a flat top and not like a beard, but like something is going on.
Yeah, they're like whiskers.
Yeah. And so I also love that, like, which again is like Magma, she's like bihectate, which is like such a weird thing to say. Because that's like a Greek witch goddess person. So they're basically using Rain to try to connect with her psychic, to connect with Danny psychically. And this is also like crazy ass artwork, which just starts to turn into the way Wolfsbane is designed like later in the 80s, where it's almost like Wolverine-esque kind of point hair thing. Because isn't there like another wolf creature like her?
There's Feral and Thorn, who are sisters, who are also like kind of like
yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. I think it's like Feral, and there's like because there's like a bunch of them there, like because when they tried to do that stupid bad Wolverine thing where they're not mutants, they're like lupine.
It's Feral and Thorn. Like they're two of them.
Not heard
but like
of it.
one of them like dies like pretty early.
They're sisters, I believe.
Yeah.
Here, I have an image of like a modern to look.
The fuck? This looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like very 90s.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, because like in like some things, like Wolfsbane turns into like a straight up wolf, but like she does like this is the era where they like everyone's gonna have like that Wolverine cut. Like Beast kind of ends up getting it.
Also, Sasquatch is not a werewolf. Why is he a gang of werewolves?
Because this is that really bad Wolverine storyline.
He's a Sasquatch.
Yeah, but they're lupine. That's like some bullshit. It was a really bad. Was it like when Romulus was the character they made?
Oh my god!
This is from that time period.
Oh my god!
I don't want to talk about Romulus. Please, let's move on.
Let's not talk about Romulus.
So basically, during this, so Rain is like psychically connected to Danny, and this is where we get like a bunch of info dump. Again, the art, like the eyes thing with Rain looking in on the surgery is fucking awesome. And basically, like she's trying to communicate with her, but like because she's waking up, it's like screwing up the surgery. As we learn, she survived, she'll be totally paralyzed. But she does get some information off to Rain, where she's been, but like Rain's like she's dying, and we see Rain turn back, which is again really cool. And she's basically like the beast is like is scared of her. They don't know why, but she has the power to destroy it. They're like, why didn't she save herself? And they're like, we don't know. I don't know. And then this is where Ileana pops in, kind of, and is like, so this creature's magic. I'm magic. So like, we need to figure out how to fuck this thing up, basically. Besides, it's like she's like, we don't have a choice. Like Xavier's gone. There's nobody here. And then we cut to this like, well, they say like, oh, it's like very like horror movie. And then we cut to the Starjammers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in space,
the Starjammers, which has Binary, which if you don't know is Carol Danvers. Which I was like, oh yeah, it's that era of Carol Danvers where she's binary, where she's red, and her head looks like a sun.
Which I don't know if this is before or after Avengers 200, which is like one of the worst Marvel comics that also involves Carol Danvers.
Is that the one with the Brood?
No, it's the one where Carol Danvers gives birth to her own rapist and then goes into space with her own rapist.
I don't. I have vague memories of this.
Because she gives birth to like a. Okay, so this was 1980. So this was after it. Because I remember. Because sorry, side tangent. Avengers 200 happens, and Carol Danvers is like pregnant in this book, and it's like basically like 9 months worth of pregnancy happens within a couple pages, and then she gives birth to like this baby boy, and then the baby boy like hyper ages into like basically like a 25-year-old man, and then like basically talks about how he like romanced her under like false pretenses that she doesn't remember, and then impregnates her with himself, and then she gives birth to him, and then they like fall in love and then go into space. And all the Avengers think this is like good behavior and totally okay, and let her go into space with her own rapist. And like, not only was this like such a bad story, but like this book is like also linked to 4 different writers because nobody wants to take credit for this story because everyone is cowards. And later on, Chris Claremont was so fucking pissed about this whole thing that he basically like wrote Carol Danvers back, like gave her like the big issue where she tells off the Avengers, and then is basically like an X-Men character from like for a couple years.
Yeah, because that's how she's with the Starjammers here. And I don't know, there's a Shi'ar with them. I don't know who that is. And then the cat lady is like Hezbollah is there, who we'll see later on.
Yeah, so we see Hezbollah, Chode, Corsair, and that's Lilandra, who is the queen.
Okay, that is Lilandra. So yeah, we cut back to the hospital, and basically they're like, "There's a fucking thing heading to Earth." That's
sorry for that tangent, but needless to say, you'll never see that within any kind of Marvel film.
So to cut back to the main story, Rain in wolf form, because she's back in that, which I don't know why, is looking in on Danny. The cop sees her. He's like, "What the fuck is that?" And turns the corner, and she's back to normal and herself. And he's like, "Oh shit, this stuff is like freaking me out." Then we have like very 80s trope of the guy.
I think it's like very odd that this is like the one nice cop who like seems to be very understanding about the mutant genome, and not like, because I feel like, man, this is like the very like kind of like small town cop who I feel like would just hate the mutants, and like everyone in this hospital would hate the mutants.
And he's just super chill. And also, is this one character supposed to be? I feel like these 2 characters in this one panel are like artist interpretations of actors. I can't tell who the one is, the black hair, but the other one looks like what's
Hitchcock?
his name? Hitchcock, yeah.
I feel like the one on the left looks like
Marlon Brando.
I was gonna say Patrick
McGowan?
No, who's the 2.5 Man, Hot Shots?
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. He looks like Charlie Sheen. The one on the left.
This would be way before Charlie Sheen was a thing.
Yeah, I know. So but it's like I don't know who else this character would be.
It's gotta be. Holy crap! Who did I just say? Marlon Brando. I feel like it's gotta be that.
It's like young Marlon Brando.
Yeah, it's like they're 2 in the foreground to be like not a thing. But basically, the cop is flirting with the nurse, which then they get attacked by the demon bear. Which this panel is fucking awesome. They get like eaten by the demon bear. All our New Mutants wake up, and they just find like a red spot. The power goes out, or the like shit is happening.
They see the dead body on the ground. They're like, someone sus.
Yes. Magic uses her magical like knowledge to make a barrier using her own life source. And then kind of collapses, and Roberto grabs her, and then this is when we get like our first actual like on panel, I guess our second panel fight, or our second time fight, but this with the team with the demon bear, and basically like Leon's like, we're about to, and literally it's just like the 2 of them in the foreground, and all of the black space is just the bear, and it's like dripping blood from its mouth. It looks fucking rad, and yeah, it's fighting, and then it smacks Sunspot away, and then it claws Magic but when it claws her, it doesn't rip through her costume. She has metal on her arm, which, if you know comics, looks very Warlock-esque. And then she stabs it with the sword, and it fades away.
Yeah.
And this,
So am I to like? Because I feel like they don't really kind of like explain it here.
they don't explain it at all.
And I kind of forget if this is the point, but is like the demon bear like something to do with like the techno-organic virus?
No.
Or is it like
From my understanding, the demon bear it manifests in what will be the big twist, but it is an actual entity from the Shadow Realm, I believe.
sure, but like I guess it's like why? Because like the metal
I think it has to do with just like Warlock is just hiding. I think he's hiding with magic.
okay.
She's the only one that has that experience.
Oh, and Warlock is basically providing like armor for her.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yes. So then the power goes out. Sunspot like powers it up so that they can continue the surgery. The wind cut the power lines. Maybe it was the wind. So they stay there. They go to the basement, or Magma, Rain, and Magic go to the basement to like make sure that the stuff. And basically like, oh shit, what's going on? And then like Magic collapses because she can feel the bear, which again looks fucking awesome in its panel, attacking the barrier she made. And they're like, what do we? Rain's like, I should go help. And Magma's like, no, we need to stay here. We don't leave anybody behind. And we have Cannonball and Sunspot like fighting, and Magic teleports them to it. And the bear again looks fucking rad. And then we get this like baller ass fight scene. And yeah, again, Magic gets swiped in the back, and we have this like silver, which I think it's important to say the color, like metal stuff covering her back. And they're all fighting the demon bear. And then Magic's like, the soul sword, heard it before. And this is where like the demon bear is like, yeah, I'm fucking losing, and does like a cloak and dagger cloak move and just like absorbs them all. And then we get this weird ass, I don't even know how to explain this. Like the demon bear, it's like a full page image, is the last page of this issue. And it like rises up, and inside is a little circle, like an embryo that has the surgery. And on the side of it is our cop and nurse. And they're like, what the shit is going on? Like, why are they there? And they can see all this.
Well, they're in the Demon Bear's world, and then and say this in the next one. They're in the Demon Bear's world, and the little embryo that we see is our world.
Yeah, so the bear basically transports everyone here to basically like the plane of existence, like it's most powerful in.
It's very weird, which I do think there's like some interesting, because I like was rereading like the Batman the Max stuff, and it's very kind of similar to the Max, like the Outlands with this section, where it's like it's bringing them to this like spiritual section of the Midwest, like the Great Plains.
Yeah, and then we get like this
because they even give us a map.
And then we get cover for New Mutants number 20 with Cannonball and Magic, and then Magma has like Warlock face, and it's still like a pretty cool cover.
Yeah, it's really fucking trippy and weird. It's almost like I can't remember the artist, but like Fear and Loathing is kind of what Magma looks like.
Yep. Like they like were transported to backcountry.
So we get like a little like we get like a full page that kind of catches us up. Then we get Crazy Demon Bear in the Badlands, and then he stabs with his claws through the cop and the nurse, which results in what we'll get to is like weirdly problematic. I don't even know how we talk about it later on. But then the panel after they get stabbed is so fucking rad looking, with the bear face, and then the two of them transformed into Native American warrior demons.
Okay, so before that, like, so we had like this 2-page spread of like the name of the story called Badlands, and like can you like read the stuff that's on like the left side of this? It's like darkness descends, a view from 20,000
feet.
And it's like
the scale is 1 square is a sixth of a mile. Black areas represent areas of the land consumed by the demon bear's shadow. It's almost like a D&D style layout.
Yeah, it's like a Chronicles of the New Mutants, brought to you by Stan Lee and like Claremont, Sankiewicz, like blah 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 blah. The Jim Shooter, the editor, who is much taller and coincidentally chief. And it's like, what a cool like kind of like 2-page spread. And it's like, and then okay, so like you have like basically like this map and like the credits on the left side, and then on the right side you have like this kind of
fucking
like
craziest shit ever.
it's like you have this huge ass demon bear with like these two people next to this giant red orb and this yellow light coming from it, and then like at the bottom you have like the rest of the team who are just like pale in comparison.
And the way that they set up is like it's the man, the cop, and the nurse, but like the way it's set up, it almost looks like man and a woman, and then like an embryo in between them, which I do think is what they're going for based on what we learned later about the demon bear.
Yeah. But yeah, he stabs these people, and like like the demon bear being like a being of like Native American legend, like I don't know like what kind of minions he would create. It's like, what would a Native American demon like have any kind of like cultural like other like blah 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 to be able to create like a minion other than like the thing that it knows. But like I get it. I get why it's like kind of a problem.
Yeah, well, it gets worse later on, but like it looks fucking rad.
It gets worse later on.
So they're still battling. So now there's a demon bear, and he has 2 demon minions that he turned the cop and the nurse into. So everyone's battling. Magic's battling one of the demon minions. The bear is fighting Cannonball, who gets like the shit kicked out of him, and we get this continued map. So as the demon bear is moving around, he's taking over more space.
Yeah,
and the space that he's taking up makes him stronger. And like we also still have this floating orb in the air.
There's even like, and there's like a moment where like the demon bear like slashes through the air and cuts through like the bubble, and it's like ripping through reality. And like one of like the doctors who's working on Danny Moonstar like sees like this rip in reality, is like I guess I'm being like just like super worn out because I thought I saw something that's not there.
Yeah, I would say like if you've seen the Legion TV show, like this matches up, which I do think makes sense because what we end up learning is the demon bear is from the Shadowland, which is where the Shadow King is sort of gets powers from. So we continue to have
which like definitely is like a character again who like becomes like a major part of the New Mutants like later on.
Yes. So the female demon is fighting Sunspot. Magic's trying to hold off the bear, and then Magma is fighting the male demon, and then shit's going crazy. Sunspot gets lassoed and flung away, and he ends up in one of the dark zones, which is important because he gets his power from the light. Which again, I love the way he's drawn; like it's so cool.
Yeah.
And again, these demons are drawn very. I need to look. Can you guys look up who that artist is that draws like Fear and Loathing? Because like I feel like there's no other way to explain these faces.
I mean, they're drawn very chaotically.
Yeah.
The description is like Fear and Loathing style.
Yeah, because like the woman is drawn like has like a zombie-esque face, and the guy's face is just like chaos.
You know what, like Bill Sienkiewicz, Ralph Steadman is the artist for Fear and Loathing, but like also like the art for like Bill Sienkiewicz also kind of feels like Scary Stories You Tell in the Dark kind of art.
Oh yeah, that definitely. So yeah, Sunspot's getting like he's about to get killed because he can't get any power. And then I love this version of Wolfsbane showing up, like fucking flies in across the screen like the panel, and just like flying drop kicks this female demon off of Sunspot, and she's like it's like more than wolf, but it's very wolf-like. And then the female demon goes to shoot her with an arrow, and then this is where Magma comes in, and she goes to like break them up, and then she makes eye contact with the demon bear, and basically gets mesmerized, and she in turn starts to demonize like the other two. And Magic's like, oh shit, I failed them, I can't do this. Pulls out the soul sword and is like, I'll figure this out. Stabs the demon bear in its hand, and then like stabs Ileana. Ileana stabs
Amara.
Amara. And then I love this like demon bear face, like, or it's like, "Rrr." And then we see Amara get stabbed, and Cannonball's like, "What the fuck, Amara?" And uses Cannonball's power, rips off Ileana.
Because he's like super sweet on Amara, and he still kind of like doesn't believe that that Ileana is like, you know, like a true member of the team, and you know, thinks that like Rain's right, that she's like a demon. But like Amara like comes back to her senses and is like,
fucking idiot.
Calls him a barbarian fool, which I feel is worse than being a fucking idiot.
Well, yeah, because she's from that Nova Roma, so like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. Amara, so it's like, Ileana stabbed you. He's like, dumbass, she saved me. And then we see the demon bear cackle.
Which is like also just like, I mean, it's like Cannonball. It's like the X-Men characters and their powers and like who they are like perfectly aligned. Like Cannonball is definitely like kind of a guy who wears his heart on his shoulder and definitely thinks before he acts, and that's why
before he thinks.
Acts before he thinks, and that's why like his powers are basically just like being like a guy who is like a bull in a china shop.
Mm-hmm. And then during this, Magic's like gets up. She's like, "Oh, my shit's all torn apart," but it's like more. It's like it's almost Colossus-esque, like, but without the lines. Like she has like a full metal sleeve.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm cool." And then we get the map again, and it's pretty much almost all black at this point. There's like a couple of spots, and this is where Ileana's like, "All right, Rain, you need to go back in and figure this shit out." She's like, "But it'll kill her." It's like, yeah, well, either this will kill her or the bear will kill her. And then we cut through the bears whacking at the orb again. And they come up with like a little plan, and Magma blows like a little volcano, and Sunspot like kind of bounces the volley, and then Cannonball rocks the other one. And then Rain's like, "I got the answer," and then she literally gets clubbed in the head. And then Magic's like, "I've had a goddamn enough of this shit." She stabs the male demon, who drops and is now a Native American man. And then she's like, "We need a diversion." So Magma, like, her fire has been messing with the demon bear, which again looks goddamn awesome and crazy. So she flames up its bottom.
His eyes are basically like Judge Doom from like Roger Rabbit.
Yes, I was thinking he's very like an evil version of Angry Beavers.
Yeah, like I mean, like I think I just like love so much of like the demon bear is just like nothing but like devoid of color, like the black abyss with just like white claws, white teeth, like white eyes, and with
crazy
white
yeah. And Cannonball carries Magma and like throws her at the demon bear, so he's distracted, and then Magic cuts him in half, like from top to bottom.
Yeah,
and come out.
Like, the bear dwarfs her to the point of insignificance. Its demonic nature, kin to evil within her own soul. It is as ancient as the planet. Maleficent that shall ever be. While Ileana, for all of her dread power, is still very much a child. What hope has she had even match her foe, much less overcome it? Then with a cry torn from the core of her being, soul sword radiating so much raw energy, it turns the night into day, splits the monster's skull. Like, so fucking rad. This is so good.
And then we see it, like, it howls, it's split in half in the next page, and we have two people walking out of it, which is weird. And then we cut back and we're all in the hospital, and everybody, our team is okay. And then Rain goes, "Sam, Officer Corsi, and Nurse Freelander, they're human. They aren't demons anymore. But they've turned to not that they returned to their true selves, they're still red Indians."
And one of the people says, "And that, I'm afraid, is how they'll remain. Their bodies were reshaped before they were possessed. You drove out their demonic natures, but that didn't affect the original enchantment. It's a kind of vicious reminder that while you defeated the bear, you're a long way to go before challenging the evil that spawned it."
Yeah, so the cop now looks like he has like war paint on with long black hair. He looks like the guy from King of the Hill, and the woman looks like Danny, kind of. So we have this new couple, and the doctor comes out and he's like, "What the shit's going on?" It's like, "Yeah, so I'm William Lone Star, and this is my wife Peg, and our daughter is Danielle." And basically, this is her parents, and all the New Mutants are like, "What the shit's going on?" And then this is fucking crazy. And then this is where Xavier finally shows up psychically.
Yeah. Xavier finally shows up to help out what's going on.
he sends Storm to go check on Danny, and along with Healer, who's like, maybe like one of the few healer mutants around this
Yes,
time.
if you've been reading again, like all the Hickman stuff, healers evolved a lot.
Which, I mean, like, also, like, at this point, there are, like, so many, like, kind of healer mutants. Like, there's, like, Healer, there's Elixir, there's, like,
Yeah. We also get the awesomest, like, full-on 80s metal, punk metal Storm.
the
Mohawk,
best Storm!
Warlock, like, completely white eyes in a black tank top with, like, the spikes and everything. She's so fucking awesome and rad.
What a fucking babe. Queen.
That shit was so fucking cool when she showed up.
Yeah. And she's just like, basically, yeah, Healer did her shit, so, like, you still have to take her, but you'll be able to walk and dance again. And then someone's like, like, kind of like, oh, what about the bear? And this is when, like, you hear, like, a voice like, oh, that nightmare's gone, darling, for forever. And she's like, it can't be. And it's like, that voice, he's like, yep, guess again. And it's like, yeah, we're your parents, we're live. And then we get kind of debriefed with Xavier, and basically he's just like, yeah, magic's not really my thing. I'm going to talk to Stephen Strange about this. Maybe we'll figure out how to make them white people white again. Like,
it's like, come on, guys. It's not like they have the flu. Jesus. Like, don't act like it's a huge infliction they have to, like, deal with now.
White people doing white people things.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know. Like, this part, which is the main story, I do want to, like, touch on the other stuff and not go too long into it. But, like, this story is fucking rad. I can see how this could work for a movie script.
Also, this ends with next issue, enter Warlock and Slumber Party.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, I could see how this kind of, like, doing a kind of haunted house with this demon bear would work. And I could see in the script of, like, tying Warlock in as, like, a benevolent ghost kind of figure as well. But I think the story is fucking rad. And I think, like, the visuals could work really well. And I'm not expecting much from this film. But the source material is there. It's good. It's fucking rad. I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
Nope.
I highly recommend it too. But I'm not expecting much in the movie either. I just want to see it because it's been like 3 years since it was announced.
No pun intended, but I feel like I've been more bullish than
Bearish.
on the X-Men franchise. So, like, I don't know, man. I feel like every X-Men film, like, is, like, the worst X-Men film to, like, a lot of people. Like, people are like, The Dark Phoenix is the worst X-Men film. I'm like, did you?
Wait, which one?
The one that's called Dark Phoenix.
Oh, not okay. I actually don't even remember what they're all called at this point. Just the fact that they did one twice.
The last X-Men movie. Like, people were like, oh, that's the worst X-Men movie. I'm like, did you guys, like, not see Apocalypse? Which is, in fact, like, really kind of one of the worst X-Men movies. It's like, this movie's just, like, aggressively, like, okay. Like,
or yeah, Wolverine Origins.
AKA Connor Irving's favorite movie.
I actually was talking with a group of people yesterday about this. I think there are, like, actually 3 absolutely dirt worst bad X-Men films. And it's X3, it's Origins Wolverine, and Apocalypse. Like, those are, like, the absolute, like, bottom of the barrel dirt worst.
I've only seen 2 of those.
And then you have, like, like,
your mediocrity.
I think Deadpool 2 is actually really bad too, but I would not say it's the dirt worst.
It's more
I
mediocre.
think it's like,
Deadpool 2 is not good. It's just shockingly okay.
My problem with Deadpool 2 is that, like, a lot of, like, the humor of Deadpool 1 is at the expense of Deadpool, and that's why that movie, like, really works.
Oh, and Deadpool 2 is just, like, jokes
takes,
on media and the genre.
It takes the total piss out of the X-Men. Like, it's like all the jokes are at the expense of, like, X-Men, like, comics and, like, how lame it all is. It's like the X-Force stuff, it's like, whatever. Like that stuff I think kind of really sucks. Because, like, one of the characters they kill is Shatterstar, who I think is, like, a really cool character, and it's like, oh, cool, like, we just fucking killed him. But then, like,
but it doesn't matter.
But then, like, they also have, like, Black Tom Cassidy, who, like, in the comics is, like, the best friend of Juggernaut, and also possibly, like, he is, like...
He's only there to make the best joke in the movie.
But like Black Tom Cassidy is also like his romantic, possibly like boyfriend slash best friend, and it's like they just fucking kill him for nothing, and then Juggernaut gets a fucking electric cable shoved up his ass. Like fuck, like honestly, like fuck that movie. That movie sucks. Like I actually like now thinking about it now,
You
it's like
talked yourself into hating it.
like that movie takes the piss out of the X-Men like so badly that it's just like what does this movie serve? Like Colossus kind of sucks in that movie. They introduce Surge as like Negasonic Teenage Warhead's girlfriend who like does like dirt nothing in that movie. It's
Says
just
hi
like
to Deadpool a lot.
yeah, like yeah, man, like I don't know, man. But like I think for like the most part, like most of the X-Men movie, like I think the Wolverine movie is like a third's great, and Logan is not as good as people think it is, but like it's not bad. Like, but like for some reason, I think there's like a thing with like a lot of people who just like love to kind of pile on the X-Men, and like I don't expect New Mutants to be as good or as bad, but like I'm just like grateful that it's like an X-Men movie that plays around in a different genre that also doesn't involve Magneto, Wolverine, Xavier,
Jean Grey.
or yeah, like as main characters. It's like here's a new cast of characters doing a thing within the X-Men universe, and I kind of really wish that like you know this kind of like led to like what the new X-Men kind of is, because like I don't like I'd be excited whatever like Marvel does with the X-Men going forward, but like if like the X-Men movie going forward is basically like Wolverine, Xavier, Scott, Jean, Beast, Angel, it's like the same shit I've seen for like since 1999. It's like come on, like I don't know. I want more. I want something different. There's like X-Men have like so many different characters of so many different backgrounds, and the '80s X-Men was like so willing to kind of like play with like different stories and races and all these other things. It's like why are we still like focused on the characters that were made 55 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know. I do just want to say, like, so there are like two other kind of mini stories in the Book of Red. The second one I think is really goofy and dumb. Like, and even though that's the one with Danny Moonstar, I think it's pretty dumb.
Neither of them are particularly good, I thought.
The only thing that's cool in the third one, and I hate this art in the third one. The only thing is like I like Warpath and the fact that it's like a Warpath because it doesn't involve Danny Moonstar at all. But it's like Warpath and Ghost Rider versus the Demon Bear, although it's very different. And I do think the art style takes away from. It's like it is new art, and it is yet still not as cool as the old art.
So this is, oh my god, it's X-Force 99. Okay, so really funny story. Okay, so X-Force number 99, which is in this trade, which I guess has like some big Demon Bear story from, who's the artist on this page? I actually like saved it. John Francis Moore and Anthony Williams.
It really shouldn't be in here because it has nothing. The other one at least is tied to Danny. This is like, oh, we have another Native American mutant that we can have fight a bear monster.
So I just want to say, in this trade, 16 issues later, I think give or take, it's like either like 114 or 115, X-Force, is the introduction of the new team on the book, which is Peter Milligan and Baga Allred, with Laura Allred doing art or doing colors, and that's like the Ecstatics run. Like that's Zeitgeist, Anarchist, Dupe. Like that's like this X-Force run is like at the very tail end of like basically like before like the big renaissance of X-Men happens. Like 10 to 15 issues from now is like when like you have like the big upheaval on X-Force. Grant Morrison takes over on X-Men. Like this is
because I think at this point this is post his New Mutants run.
This is post bankruptcy. This is when Joe Quesada is about to take over on Marvel, and he brings in like what's his name to do Punisher, and Brian Michael Bendis is doing Daredevil, and Grant Morrison is doing X-Men, and Milligan's doing X-Force. And then basically it's like, oh hey, like this is basically like the second wind of Marvel. And this is like when Marvel really kind of turns around and becomes like the multi-billion-dollar company it's known today.
Yeah. The only thing I like in this third story is the fact that it's Warpath and Ghost Rider, and Ghost Rider painting up and giving backstory to Warpath is like an awesome idea. It's like, yeah, he's a Ghost Rider. He would have all these memories.
So yeah, this third arc of X-Force is basically like an in-between arc for the Craig Kyle and Christopher Yost era of X-Force, which was the Black Ops era of X-Men with Clayton Crane doing the art. Kyle and Yost, like, people kind of know as being like the main writers behind X-Men Evolution in the 2000 era X-Men cartoon. But like they like were doing like kind of some like odds and ends stuff. Like they did X-Men Academy, which was basically like Harry Potter, but it was X-Men. And then Decimation happened, and then Kyle Yost basically was like wrote New X-Men as a book where like a bunch of kids died and were basically burned by fire, and were like kind of like the hot like X-Men writers for like a little bit. Like they did like X-Force, and that book was like really cool as like the Black Ops book coming out of Decimation as going after the X-Men villains before they had a chance to kill the X-Men, because there was only like 198 mutants left, and the team was like Wolverine, Warpath, X-23, I think Caliban, and a couple other people. But yeah, this was like this arc that's in this book is like a big in between arc, where like, you know, they fight the Demon Bear,
But it's not the Demon Bear. It's like a different thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like not a good arc, and I think it's like in between the arc before they fight like the Leper Queen or the Leper Queen, and then Messiah War happens. But yeah, I kind of like don't mind the art on this book. Like, I don't think the colors are great, but I kind of like this artist. Like, it has like a
it's fine. I don't like the stuff in the beginning with like Hez and stuff, and like it's like very of the time and like not a good
the artist
way.
kind of reminds me of Korean manga kind of look.
Yeah, like again, it's like the picture I posted before with like Sasquatch and Wolfsbane, like it's like that same era of like where it's trying to be more photorealistic, and I don't like it. It's weird.
But like I think like, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, before we continue, I'm starting to fade because it's almost
we're in like we're in the tail end. But yeah, basically Demon Bear Saga, go fucking read it. It's super great. It's like Bill Sienkiewicz, like really early work, and it's super good. Chris Claremont, like there's like a reason why he's like so remembered as like one of the best like X-Men.
He's the X-Men guy. He's the guy that made the X-Men. Like, you give a shit about the X-Men.
First time reading the story, and I thought it was one of the coolest fucking stories I'd read in a while.
Yeah, I kind of want to like now take a hard look at his X-Men run. But yeah, check us out. Make sure to listen to all the other podcasts. Follow, rate, review, tell a friend. Find us on our social medias. Next week, we are going to be watching the movie that was filmed 17 years ago, where the people in it were under 18 and now they're over 21. The New Mutants. So check out all that stuff. Was there anything specific you guys wanted to plug?
I'm good.
You can find me on Twitter, John_FN_Seiler, SEILER, where it's, you know, plugging the stuff that I'm working on for work, and other stuff. Same thing on Instagram.
All right. We will catch you guys next time. Adios.
Watch out for demon bears.
Yeah, especially if you're in Canada, like having, oh my God, Connor Irving, who loves you. Bye.
So I guess I'll join the Great Lakes Avengers. They offered me a membership, and so I did, except no way to walk into disaster. I find out how to go to something that cannot be sold, cause they're the worst shoes of all time. It's remarkable they ever stop a crime. Sitting full time with 3 beer in life, so I guess I'll stick around.